Let's talk about who you were before you got hurt. And you mentioned that you were a heck of a runner. I think you also talked about bicycling. Tell me about, you're how old now?
I'm 47.
How old were you on the day of your injury? 41?
41. About 41 and a half.
What's your date of birth?
Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, 1964. So about 41 and a half.
You were a longshoreman.
I really wasn't. I was working for a diving company for only about 7 days. I was transitioning out of being in restaurants for nearly 10 years. Waited tables, I've managed, I've helped open up a restaurant, helped build the menu, helped hire the staff, and I've done a lot of different things in restaurants. I worked for Gaylord Palms, I've managed at Radisson at the port in Cape Canaveral. I've worked for Marriott in the front desk, I've driven limousine, I've had a lot of different experiences with hospitality and people.
You're a high school graduate?
Yes.
Where'd you go to high school?
Coginchaug High School in Durham, a neat little town, 7,000 people, 400 in the high school.
Durham,
Connecticut.
And college?
I've only taken a couple courses, which coincidentally one was a psychology course, and I got a B-.
And so after you finished school, how'd you get to Florida?
That was a long trip, but after about a year working in a factory and seeing what life, I wasn't college material, I just didn't study in high school. I mean, I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you've learned enough about me that I am capable of learning even with a head injury. Not a lot in a short amount of time, but if I read something over and over and again, you know, I can learn it. But before I got hurt, I probably could have gone and gotten a master's degree. I knew how to type, I knew English, I knew math. I just never really got that big kick to just want to keep going with school. So after about a year of working in a factory, loading trucks, I went down on a Saturday doing overtime. I went to a recruiter's office and I joined the Army.
And at how old?
20.
Okay. So how long were you in the Army?
I spent from August of '84 to August of '90, 6 years.
Now, were you part of the Persian Gulf War?
I got out, I was signing out of the Army the morning that Saddam Hussein took Kuwait.
They didn't call you back?
No, I was at 3rd Army headquarters, in Atlanta. And I'd been on Middle East exercises in '87 and '89, Egypt and Jordan. And I'm not going to expand too much on what those do, but they were training for what they're doing now. So I had been there, done that, and I've been to California in '86 and '88 doing desert exercises, March Air Force Base and El Toro Marine Corps Air Station. Been to Florida to do another exercise. So I played war and kind of been there, and military was downsizing. There was just nothing really left. There was nothing really left for me to accomplish there, so I did 6 years and I said goodbye.
Now, have you ever been married?
Yes.
Are you currently married?
No.
Tell me about your marriage or marriages.
Vicky, I still miss her. She was a beautiful girl. She had some college, industrial engineering. Divorced family, mother, tough to get along with. Dad worked for Coca-Cola, very solid man, but very southern, and I was a northern guy.
When did you get married?
We got married in December of '89, and shortly after that, she joined the Army. So when I got out in '90, I was supposed to follow her. She had gotten involved with the Saudi war. Well, I got out, and she went to Germany, and around January of '91, she went to Germany and got out of her AIT and everything, was done with all that. And I was going to just follow her and do civil service. I still like supply and I like the military system and all that, but I thought I would do civil service and maybe retire 14 more years. That's all I got left. And she got over there, and she was told that she was going right to the Saudi war. No dependents can go. So that kind of spiraled me. I went home to Connecticut, and I worked out with my old high school track team for a little while, just kind of volunteered to coach, and drew unemployment through the VA. I had a certain amount of weeks from being in the military, and I said, all right, I'll take it. It was only maybe $180 a week or something. But it was a great experience because I got to go back to my high school, told them about the pyramids of Egypt. I did a presentation in one of the history classes about being to Petra, Jerash, even Stone Mountain when I was in Atlanta. But I've been to Egypt, Jordan, Petra, Jerash, California. You know, and it was neat to be able to go back and talk to the kids, train and work with them, tell them about the military. And some of them did run off and go in ROTC and all that. But with Vicki, we were young. She called a few times and told me things that I really didn't like too much. So from there I moved, I told her, I said I just didn't think we were going to be able to stay together, and so we divorced. I moved back to Atlanta, and I stayed there for about 7 or 8 years. And I remarried a friend of myself and Vicky's, and that was just a mistake. It was a total mistake. I'm sorry to say that, but we just really didn't have that much in common. It was more out of convenience.
So how long did that marriage last?
I'd say about 2 years, and I'd just never really been...
Have you been single since that?
Yes.
So you've been for, what, 7 or 8 years before you got hurt?
11. I divorced in 92 to Vicki, got married, or 91 to Vicki, so 2 years with her, and then 92 I got married again in summer of 94. That was done.
Do you have any children?
No.
You were mentioned running. Tell me about your running.
In 7th grade, Ed Detour was my gym teacher, and he saw me running around the bases playing softball, and asked me if I wanted to go up to the high school and train with the high school kids, not to compete or anything, but you know, to start getting into running. And so a day or two a week I used to go up there, and I got into it. Went to summer programs, track meets and cross-country meets, and I ended up going into my senior year. I ended up making all conference. I finished 7th out of about 183 in my conference.
What race were you running? What race?
Cross country was 3.1. I was running around 16:12.
How about on the track?
I was the 5,000 meter AAU or TAC. It became TAC champion on the track. I got into high jumping and hurdling. I was a Shoreline Conference high jump champion at about 5'10". I jumped 6 feet.
How tall are you? 5'10"?
I'm 6'2".
6'2".
But I jumped 6'2" that summer, and I won the Class S state meet. So track was important to me, and my brother followed suit. He's 12 years younger than I am. So he followed suit, and he was a sprinter, though.
Did you keep running too at the time in the military?
I was the fastest man in my basic training, AIT, and I never got beat by anybody in the Army in a 2-mile run. Probably the proudest.
What was your fastest 2 mile?
My fastest 2 mile in the Army or ever?
Well, let's take the Army.
I ran 10:27 in basic training. It was 16 degrees at Fort Knox, Kentucky in February with about 4 inches of snow on the ground. I was so happy that I got through the push-up line. I was the last person. I honestly had never done the amount of push-ups that I needed to do.
How many is that?
47. I'd never done over 42, and I was scared because if you don't do it, you get recycled, and you go 2 weeks. And I just did not. I was our platoon leader by then. I went in there at Bear Base E1, and I came out the platoon leader. So
but you gotta get that 47 push-up. Right?
I did 52. And then I ran out to the track, and I can remember I couldn't get my sweats off. And I just ripped them off. I was the last person to start, 185 runners in front of me on the track, and I passed every one of them. But
so did you get any extra credit for running a 10:27, you said?
you get 100 points for running a certain time. It was probably around 11:15. But I wanted to be the fastest man in my basic training.